Rise and face Jerusalem.
Hey, shalom, Sister Lucy. Shalom.
Heavenly Father, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we come before you in prayer, Father. We thank you for allowing us to wake up this morning, Father, giving us strength, breath, life, that we might live and serve thee according to your commandments, Father. We ask you to bless our minds, Father, bless our spirits. Open up our spirits, Father, that we might receive your word in righteousness and most of all in truth, Father. Bless us as we go through these scriptures, Father, to open up the understanding of how to keep your high holy days, Father. Open up the minds and the spirits of the brothers and sisters that are watching, Father, that they might receive your word, Father. Correct us where we need to be corrected, Father. Prove us where we need to be proven, Father. And bless us if we do thy will. In Christ's name we praise and we thank you for all things. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those that trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. In Christ's name we praise and thank you for all things. Amen.
Amen. Mookie Mook, shalom.
Is that Mookie Mook?
Shalom.
Where's BJ Dub at? You know we need him in the building. BJ Dub, keep it interesting. JB Dub, I forgot what it is. If I messed it up,
Yeah, it's BJ.
BJ Dub, you know his comments keep it real.
Yeah, that's funny. Hey, shalom Israel. Pray everybody's doing good. I just share the class when it's done and over with. But yeah, we're going to go over when the day starts. And we're going to talk about when the Sabbath starts as well, among other things. And then, like Judah was saying, we're also going to talk about the days we do keep from even to even and why. And that's the importance that we tell brothers and sisters about reading. Otherwise, we're no different in Christianity. How, for example, they'll use John 3:16, right? And then you ask them, okay, well, what does John 3:15 say? They can't tell you. What does John 3:17 say? They can't tell you. But they can tell you that little part of it. What makes us any different than that? When we'll read one line and say, this is what it is, but you can't explain the storyline or that chapter or what it's talking about.
Right. And like your brother said, that's because people don't study. If I give you a verse that tells you anything, like for instance, it says sell your coat. You got 2 coats, sell one of them, buy a sword. I can use that and tell you, yeah, it's time to strap up. You know, because Christ said buy a sword, strap up, and you'll memorize that. Sell your coat and buy a sword. That's what Christ said. And then you think that means we're supposed to be gearing up for gun violence or something. But you ain't reading the context of why he said that, what's going on. Was he talking about us strapping up so we can get violent, strapping up so we can, do this, that, and the third? No. But I can take and twist that up and give a whole storyline behind that one scripture. And we're going to go into that when it comes to the even to even. Keep in mind also, the fake Jews keep the Sabbath even to even. The fake Jews keep the new moon as the dark moon. The fake Jews and people that stole our identity, the scriptures say that they're going to change stuff. Keep in mind, that's what they do. We should be trying to separate ourselves as far away from what they do as possible and investigate everything that they tell us is good. Everything. Because they'll take the good and turn it, and they'll take the bad and say it's good. They'll take the wrong and say it's right. They'll flip everything upside down. So we're supposed to be investigating all that stuff, So just keep that in mind. The fake Jews keep it even to even. They swear by that. We know they the devil. Let's start at John 8:32. John 8:32. Good morning, everybody. Shalom, Most High Christ bless. Karnash, shalom, brother. Good morning. Good to see you on here with us this morning.
All right, shalom, brother. This is the book of John, chapter 8, verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So what makes us free? The truth. The truth in the Bible. Watch this. Give me that in Psalms.
What's that, Judah?
Psalms 119. 142.
Gotcha.
The truth is what makes us free.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 119 and verse 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth.
So what is the truth? The laws of God. Now we have to rightfully be able to divide the word of truth. Give me that in 2 Timothy. You know what I'm talking about? You put it the other day.
2:15. Yeah.
Watch this. Because it's okay. We know that the truth is going to make us free. We know that the law is the truth. We understand these things. But we've been so separated from our laws, from our heritage, or whatever for so long. It's been fed to us by other people for so long. We don't know if they've given it to us truthfully. So that's why this is important. Read that.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto
We have to study to show ourselves approved. What do you mean approved? If we, just like with anything, if we keeping it wrong and God didn't say keep it like that, God didn't say do it like that, and we don't know it because we ain't studying, then we are not going to be approved before God. Hold that real quick. Read, I think it's Romans chapter 2. Let me look at it. Yeah, Romans chapter 2 and verse 11.
Romans chapter 2, verse
11.
Romans chapter 2, verse 11. For there is no respect of persons with God.
Mm-hmm.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law.
It says as many as sin without law, meaning you didn't know, you didn't think to look, you didn't study to show yourself approved so you can get it right. You didn't do that. It says you're going to perish without law. There's going to be people right now, when this understanding comes out, they're going to be like, I'm just doing what we was already doing. I'm doing what leadership said to do. They're going to look at these scriptures that we about to go through, and they're going to just dismiss the whole thing. They're going to be like, leadership. We're just going to do what leadership said. Whatever the camp leader said, that's what we're doing. And it says, if you read that at verse 12 again.
For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law.
Many of y'all is going to break God's commandments because y'all didn't know, y'all didn't want to accept, y'all just want to roll with whatever the man said, this man or that man said that you hold in high esteem. Like we said before, the reason that people hold men in such high esteem like that is so they don't have to do it themselves. I don't have to study. I just look and listen to what he said. If he said it, I trust that that's my spiritual father. So I don't have to study nothing. As long as he said it is good. Said you should perish without the law. Read on.
And as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law.
And those of you that say that you know the law, those of us that say that we know the law, we see commandments and we just avoid them. We just don't do it like that. I've been doing it this way so long that I ain't going to do it. Then I'm going to just continue this way. It says you're going to be judged by the law. I'm like, you know to keep the Sabbath, right? Well, it says right here, why don't you do it like that? Well, you know, my squad was doing it like this, so I just figured, I'm like, nope. Go back to 2 Timothy.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth.
It says a workman that need not to be ashamed because you're rightly dividing the word of truth. How can you know that you're rightly dividing the word of truth when you study and applying what you read? You see it, you apply it. You see it, you apply it. That's how God's going to give you the understanding, more understanding. Hold that. Give me Proverbs, Psalms 111. Psalms 111 and verse 10.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 111 and verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. A good understanding have all they that do his commandments.
So watch this. The fear of the Lord is going to cause us to be like, I do not want to disobey God because I'm scared that I won't get the kingdom. I'm scared that I'm going to be left out. So anything this Bible says, I'm doing. I don't care what man say. Cursed is the man that put his trust in man. Look, I might love you. I might like you. You might be my dude. I might respect the fact that you've been around in this truth for 2,500 years. All praises. But I ain't going to think that you the end all to tell all. If I see something in this Bible that's being proven to be true, I'm doing that. I'm not going to wait for you to bring it out because you got to be the grand poobah of everything. I'm doing that. So don't listen to what I say, what Masharathyah says. Make sure that you study this stuff. Write the notes down. Go back, study it. Do what I did when I first came into the truth. When I heard about all this stuff, I went to prove it wrong. Like, man, that ain't true. And in trying to prove it wrong, it caused me to study and dig. And the more I dug, I was like, oh, snap, this is true. And I submitted. So do that if you don't believe. Don't just, because what some people are going to do is be like, it's coming from them. The master said that they was out of the truth. Master said they was out of the truth. It's coming from them. It's wickedness. Don't look at that. It's wickedness. But we reading the Bible. So let's get started. Exodus 20. Exodus 20 and 8. Let's go right into it. The Sabbath.
Do it. Cool. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day.
Notice it starts out saying, remember, remember, remember. Because it's going to come a time when we forget. We forget how to keep it. We forget to keep it. We forget when to keep it. So it says, remember the Sabbath day. It always says that, remember the Sabbath day. There's something about the Sabbath day that's going to be off in these last days. When we wake up and we realize we're supposed to keep the Sabbath. And then it's another, okay, these Negroes is waking up. Let's throw another trick in there. Now y'all keeping it wrong and y'all breaking the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Remember, the heathen all the way through our history has always said, if we keep them out of God's laws, if we have them breaking God's laws, we can stay on top. So you think that our enemies are going to show us how to keep God's laws right? You think that the so-called Jews, them fake Jews, according to Revelations 2 and 9, 3 and 9, you think that they're going to show us how to keep it right? You think that they keeping it right? They don't give a damn about God. It says, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Read on.
6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work.
Mm-hmm.
But the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates.
Mm-hmm.
For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it.
You see that? So 6 days we're supposed to work, and on the 7th day we're supposed to rest, just like God did. So it said God rested on the 7th day. Now I'm gonna jump into Genesis, because in Genesis we use this, or we have been taught to use this to say, the evening came first. The first thing God did was the evening. So the evening is first. It says from evening in the morning was the first day. So he said evening first. So that means that's when you start your day. Wrong. Remember Charlie Murphy did that? Wrong. Wrong. We better get it. Watch this. Go to Genesis 1. Because somebody sent me this in a message. And I used to believe it like this too. Somebody sent me the message. Yeah, this crushes y'all's doctrine when I put that message out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Evil doctrine, see, because it said evening and evening in Genesis 1 and 5, so it crushes it. Brother, I understood it like that too. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully you'll get the understanding after this class. Now watch this. First, I'm going to show you. Read that first. Genesis 1 and 1. We're going to read it down.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. So
in the beginning, God created the heaven and earth, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. Let me find something real quick. Where'd I put that? I can't remember what I did with it. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I get notes everywhere. Read that again, and just read on down while I look for this note. Keep it.
All right. This is Genesis 1 and 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So it said the evening and the morning. Hold on. I got to word search this bad boy. Go to real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Second Chronicles 6:1. Because the first thing that God had, the reason we say that it was dark first, because it says that it was darkness upon the face of the deep. That didn't have nothing to do with when the day started. That didn't have nothing to do with it. I'm going to show you what that was going into, the darkness that was upon the face of the deep. That was just going into where God dwells. It had nothing to do with us. What I tell you, Second Chronicles 6.
Yeah, Second Chronicles chapter 6 and verse 1. Then said Solomon, the Lord hath said that he would dwell in the thick darkness.
It said, Solomon said, the Lord said that he would dwell in the thick darkness. So when we go back to Genesis and it was like darkness was upon the face of the deep, that's just going into where God dwells at. God dwells in the thick darkness. That's where he's creating from. That's going into the heavens, up there in space, where all this stuff, where he set his stars and doing his own work. That ain't got nothing to do with us on earth with the way we start our day. Nothing to do with it. So jump back down to verse 5, the first day.
Verse 5. This is Genesis chapter 1, verse 5. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day.
So it says the evening, and I think y'all can see that. So it says the evening, I'll just start right here. The evening, that's this right here. And then the morning, that's this right here. So this span, what we've learned is, see, he said the evening and the morning was the first day. Well, between the evening and the morning is the nighttime. That's it. And then after the morning, we have the daytime all the way up until the next evening. Where's that at? If the evening and the morning was a day, that means it was a day, where's the rest of the day at? Because after the morning, you got daytime, noonday, all that stuff is in here. And then it comes to the morning again. Now watch this. This is just a translation error. That's all. I'm going to read, and this is in the beginning of all y'all's King James Bibles. This is in the first pages, before you even get to the meat of it. It says, this Bible contains the text of the Authorized King James Version, originally published in 1611. One characteristic of this version is its use of italics, which indicates words supplied by the translators to help clarify the meaning and better convert the original language to English. Meaning there's certain words that they took out and put in to help it be more understandable, because when you read in the Hebrew, it reads kind of different. But sometimes they take words and change them, and it's not to try to deceive you. They're trying to make it so where you can understand it better, but it kind of takes away from what the meaning was. Now, I've got a book. It's called The Scriptures. It's the Holy Bible. Got all the books of the Bible in it. Let me hold it up. I'll put up the table of contents just so you can see that it's got all the books of the Bible in it. Hold on one second. Got all the books of the Bible in it. I'll go here. But you see it's got it written with Hebrew names and such. It's got all the books of the Bible in it written with Hebrew names. It's from the Institute for Scripture Research. Now, this is not an indoctrinating book to just trying to indoctrinate you. It's just less translated than the King James Version. Watch this. I'm going to read Genesis chapter 1, verse 5 out of the less translated book. It uses words like Elohim for God. Because God ain't the name that they was using in Hebrew. We know we don't have the original Hebrew, but it uses words like Elohim. So watch this. Genesis 1 and 5. And Elohim called the day, the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning. So when you read it like that, he was working in the daytime, and then there came to be evening. Then through the night, there came to be morning. Day one. And then after the morning, he worked. And then there came to be evening, and then there came to be morning. It was just going over a process of time. But the way it reads in the King James Version, we've been taught to see evening and morning. The evening comes first. That's not what it's talking about, brothers and sisters. That was just going over a dispensation of time, because if evening and morning consist of the whole day, what happened to the daytime in there? Evening, morning. All in between there is just night. What about the daytime? What about the noonday? Where'd that go? I'm telling you, open up your minds and think. Do not forget what I'm saying. Just look at the logic, look at the scriptures, look at the translations, and just think. We've been doing it wrong. Let's continue. Genesis 1, we'll jump off of that. John 9 and 4. Watch this. John 9 and 4. So why did God say the evening and the morning? It came to be evening, then it came to be morning, day one. In that period right there, that dark nighttime period, God wasn't working no more. It's not our customs to be working at night. Now here in America, in the different captivities, we got third shift and this, that, and the third. We got 7-Eleven open all night. You can go get a drink in the middle of the night. You can go get some food. You can go party in the middle of the night. But in the beginning, it was not so. That was not our custom. God didn't even work through the night. The evening in the morning, he was done. The evening to the morning, he was done. He did his work in the daytime. Let's see if Christ bear witness with that. John chapter 9 and verse 4.
This is the book of John, chapter 9 and verse 4. I must work the works of him that sent me.
Christ said, I got to work the works of him that sent me. What are the works that God worked? He created in the daytime. He told Christ certain things he had to do. Everything that God did, Christ had to do. Christ was the image of the Father. When they asked, can we see the Father? He said, have I been so long with you and you don't know me? You see me, you see the Father. So these statements that Christ are making, he's making on behalf of our Father in heaven. Now watch this. Read that again.
I must work the works of him that sent me while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work.
That's the night cometh when no man can work. What was that? That's a twofold statement, but he was showing that the work gets done in the day. At nighttime, we don't do no work. That's why the evening and the morning ended the first day. And then what came next? Daytime, where he worked. And then the evening and the morning ended the second day. Then what came? Daytime, where God worked. Then the evening and the morning ended the third day. And so on until we got to the Sabbath day. We didn't do no work at night. And we're going to read that and prove that. There was no work being done at night. None.
Right, let me say something real quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, bro.
Think about it yourself as a work day. You wake up in the morning, you go to work, and then what do? You get off in the evening, and then what do? You relax, and then you get up. Right, you relax, you eat dinner, you go to bed, and you wake up in the morning at the beginning of the day and do it all over again. That's what you read in Genesis. It's really that simple.
Same thing. That's exactly what God was doing. As God was showing us to do. Now, through all these captivities and all these different philosophies and whatnot, the day don't stop. You go to New York, New York don't stop at all. Some places you go to, they don't stop at all. It's just constant. Ain't no rest. It don't matter Monday through Sunday. It don't matter. Ain't no rest. So God didn't have it like that for us. The nighttime, the Most High rested. And then he said on the Sabbath, it was rest, period. Ain't no work in the day or the night. We never worked at night. We didn't have work at night anyway. That wasn't our custom. Give me John 11.
And what verse?
9. Now,
John.
We're going to take it slow in this Monday class because it's going to be hard for some of y'all to digest. This milk got a little bit of rice cereal in it. it's that milk that you feed the baby. You got to put a little bit of oatmeal in it. So it's got a little bit of oatmeal. Tomorrow we're going to give you a little bit more, and then Wednesday we're going to give you a little bit more if the Lord spares our life and allows us to continue to bring it out. John chapter 11 and verse 9.
John chapter 11 and verse 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? So
in the daytime, Jesus says, are there not 12 hours in the day? He was talking about the part of the day when the sun is out. So we know that the next 12 hours, which make a 24-hour day, is at nighttime. So when you read in the Bible, I'm still on this evening and morning was the first day. When you read in Genesis, when it says the evening and the morning was the first day, that's only one 12-hour period. What happened to the daytime 12-hour period? If he was talking about that was the whole day. Evening started the whole day. Nah, that ain't what he was talking about. Christ right here said it's 12 hours. Is it not 12 hours in the day? Now, when you think about it, remember when Christ was on the cross, he said that something happened the third hour, then the sixth hour, then the ninth hour. Now, this was all happening in the daytime. Christ said it's 12 hours in the day. So what would the first hour of that day be? We're looking around, what, 6 o'clock, 6 a.m.? When the sun starts coming up. Read on. Read that again.
This is John chapter 11, verse 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world.
Mm-hmm. It says, you walk in the day, you just like with the work, all this stuff is allegory, just like with the work, you do your stuff in the day, you don't stumble. And that's going in also, walking in the light of Christ. This is twofold. The light that it's also talking about is the light of Christ. Like when you read in Genesis 1, hold this, go back. Go back. This is a little bit deep for y'all, but I'm going to go ahead and we'll touch on it maybe future class. Read Genesis 1 and 1. Now we hold John 9.
Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Now that was just a summary. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Wasn't nothing created yet at this statement. Read.
And the earth was without form and void.
Meaning there was nothing there. It's great darkness, thick darkness, where God's work canvas is, where God dwells in the thick darkness. There was no form, no nothing there yet. Now he's going into how it came to be. Read.
And darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters.
The waters that it's talking about is in space, the elements in space that God uses to make his stuff. Read.
And God said, let there be light.
So the first thing God created was light. And it wasn't the sun, and it didn't have nothing to do with when the day started. First thing God created was light. Now, when we read on, when we talk about Christ, it's talking about Christ being the beginning of creation, the light of the world. So that's what that's talking about right here also in John 9. Read on. But we'll get, that's another class. I don't want y'all to get too far ahead. Read on. John 11 and 9.
John chapter 11 and verse 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world.
Hold on 1 second. Hey, brother Maccabees, if you want to teach, go teach somewhere else. We bringing out something that's a little bit heavy, and I don't need nobody getting confused. So do me a favor. Just hold all your comments. You got a comment, you want to teach us something, send it to me a message. Please, nobody come on here and start trying to give your own scriptures and try to confuse stuff. You don't agree, just exit yourself. You don't want to sit through the class and listen, just exit yourself. You know what I'm saying? We love our brothers and sisters. Everybody got an opinion. This platform is not for you to teach. Facebook is big. You can start you a page and start teaching. If people believe what you say, all praises. If not, all praises. But this ain't the place. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Read on.
John 11 and 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world.
Mm-hmm.
But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him.
So now every time you hear about day, you hear about the beginning, you hear about working, you hear about action. And when you hear about night, it's rest, no working, stumbling, sin. So why would God start his day and night? And everywhere in the scriptures you hear about stuff going on in the night, it ain't really too good for us. Stuff happening in the night, it ain't really good for us. This is where it says that we all rested. Monday through Sunday through the Sabbath and all that, we all rested at nighttime. There wasn't no work getting going on. The gates of the cities were shut. The doors of the houses were closed. Wasn't nothing going on. Now, in the temple was some stuff going on. The priests, and we'll get that later on, the priests were sacrificing and whatnot in the temple because they had a morning one and a night one. But that was, God set that up. But everybody else, we were supposed to be chilling at nighttime, just like God did. So it said, Christ said, read verse 9 again.
Hold on a second. Real quick, Maccabees. Remember the statement I made. I told you to watch the class. If you disagree, then you can contact me. Feel free to contact me. But you can't watch and talk at the same time. It's impossible for any of us to do that. And that's a problem with our people today. Instead of paying attention, we always got something to say. I've heard your logic. Again, watch the class and then contact me. But
hey,
you got
Masharathyah, forgive me. This class right here is too important. Hey, Maccabees, if you wanna dialogue, contact and message. But for right now, I'm blocking you, brother, because I think you got spirits on you. So shalom, you're blocked. Anyway, let's move on. I blocked that, brother. No time. You got to bring your stuff out.
What verse?
Read that again. Verse 9.
Verse 9. Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him.
You see that? So let's drop that. Move on to Psalms 104. We just establishing when we were working. when work was being done and when work ceased. Watch
What verse?
Psalms 104 and verse 20.
Psalms 104 and 20. Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth.
Mm-hmm.
The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God.
It says, thou makest darkness. When at nighttime, it's when the animals come out. The animals of prey come out. The lions creep. The creeping things creep, and they come out and they do their business at nighttime. Read on.
Verse 22. The sun ariseth, they gather themselves together and lay them down in their dens.
It says, then when the sun comes up, those creeping things, those animals and those animals of prey, when the sun starts rising, they gather all their stuff together and they go to their dens and lay down. They go back in hiding. And then what happens? Read.
Verse 23. Man goeth forth unto his work and to his labor until the evening.
Then man comes out and we go forth to do our work and our labor until the evening, like the Most High. And through the day, the morning, he did his work. Then at the evening, he stopped. And then the next morning, the evening and the morning, completed that whole day. Then the daytime, he did his work. And then when it came to be morning, and when it came to be evening, and it came to be morning, he was done. That was day one. And then he went out and worked again. And in that nighttime period, he ordained that that's when the animals and the creeping things come out. That's when they do their business. But man, when we do our business, when it's daytime. God didn't ordain the beginning of his day to start in the evening. That's a misunderstanding. And it's high time that we wake up and start serving the Lord correctly. And people are going to come against this and say this, that, and the third. But I beg you, brothers and sisters, just use your own mind and think. You know it makes sense. But y'all going to hear brothers like, they wicked as hell. Don't listen to them. Use your own mind and think. Just look at the scriptures and tell me that, inbox us, send a message and show us that we absolutely wrong. That ain't what that scripture say. But you ain't going to do it. We've been going through this too strong for too long. Read that again.
What verse you want me to start at?
20. Read it all the way through to 23.
Yeah. Psalms chapter 104, verse 20. Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God. The sun ariseth, they gather themselves together and lay them down in their dens. Man goeth forth unto his work and to his labor until the evening.
It says, and then man goeth forth and we do our work until the evening. Where do we get that from? The Most High, because that's when he did his work. Every day, all the way up until the seventh day. And then on the seventh day, he fell back and he rested. He didn't go forth to do his work the seventh day. He said he's going to rest that day. At night, he rested anyway, just like us. That's where we got it from. At night, we rest anyway. Whether it be the first day, the fifth day, the sixth day, definitely the seventh day, we rest at night. The gates are shut. It ain't nothing going on. It's the same way the Most High got down. And that's the same thing that he showed us. Thank you. Make sure it's hot, like hot. All right, drop that. Let's go into Christ and the disciples and see how they did. Go to Luke 24. The book of Luke, chapter 24.
What verse?
We got clues all through the Bible that show us that, hey, man, hold up. And the brothers and sisters that we done talked to, they done ask questions or whatever, when we show them these scriptures, they like, man, that make perfect sense. That make perfect, because I didn't understand it at first. At first, it didn't make sense. How is it the Sabbath, but it's at nighttime, and the next day is the first day, and the day when the sun's coming up? Because the first day should have been the day before when it started going into evening. But right here, it says that it was still the Sabbath at night, going into the first day. I'm telling you, we've been taught wrong. Period. We've been taught wrong. And it's high time you wake up. Hold that real quick before we get into that. Go to James 4:17. Because some people are going to sit back and they're going to be like, well, I'm going to just do it the way that my elders are doing it, the way I was told to do it. Because you don't want to study. You're going to listen to somebody say, yeah, everybody's wicked, but us. So no information is going to be received from anybody other than the people that you're looking at. Man, God didn't say do that. That ain't how God said get down. Study to show yourself approved. Work out your own soul salvation. You see the scriptures coming out. You see that it says that, and you don't do it, then you the devil. I'm telling you straight up, you the devil, and you gonna get punished. You better repent. Read that.
This is the book of James, chapter 4, verse 17. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin.
To him that knows to do good, what is good? The law is good. But you that know to do good and don't do it, for you it is sin. Some of y'all gonna say some stuff like, well, you know, we just gonna have to wait till Christ get back. It does say that. I see it. But this is what everybody in my congregation is doing, so this is what I'm gonna do. If you still want to stay with your congregation and whatnot and fellowship, and they don't want to hear it, they don't want to see it, but you see it, you're responsible for doing what you see. The Most High gonna deal with you. Remember, it talks about 2/3 of us being cut off and die. Hold that real quick. Go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 9. Because brothers and sisters think that they got safety in the herd. It's safety in the herd when we all around each other, we all doing the same thing. You know what it said? Wide is the road, and many there be that thereon. Narrow is the way to the path to the kingdom of heaven, and there be few that find it. So if you're in a herd and everybody doing something, and you see that something that they doing in there is wrong, but everybody's still rolling with it, odds are you on the wide road. Don't think just because you in the truth that now you ain't no longer on the wide road. The wide road is the truth too. It ain't just Christianity. The Most High, when he's giving these scriptures, he's dealing with us. He's talking about us, the people that believe in him. There's going to be a wide road of them too. They just going to do what man say. And that's a bunch of cursed individuals. Watch this. Read.
Right, and a real quick, and another thing too is, like Judah was saying, you will see it in the scriptures, but you won't even say nothing to anybody. So you'll sit there and be like, yeah, okay, well, maybe they don't have the understanding, but you know it and you see it. Again, remember we talked about not having fear. What would be wrong with you reasoning in the scriptures with anybody, asking questions with anybody? Because maybe that's the opportunity for them to see it and be like, dang, I never saw that. I never looked at it like that. But you'll be like, well, I see it, but they do it this way, so I'm just going to sit back and do nothing and say nothing.
Yeah, I'm going to sit back and watch my brothers roll off the cliff. I ain't saying nothing because I don't want them to blast me. They're going to blast me and they're going to be like, you've been watching Masharathyah and Judah Macc. I'm scared. So I ain't going to say nothing. I'm going to just stay I'm going to stay in the herd. The herd's going off the cliff. Watch this. Read verse 15. 2nd Ezra 9 and 15.
2nd Ezra 9 and 15. I have said before, and now do speak, and will speak it also hereafter, that there be many more of them which perish than of them which shall be saved.
It says, God says there's going to be many more of them. Talking about us, brothers and sisters. Many more of us that are going to perish than of them that are going to be saved. The ones that are going to perish, the ones that, first off, don't want to keep the commandments. We know that for sure. But it's going to be some that's going to put their trust in man. Remember it says, cursed be the man that maketh flesh his own, put his trust in man over God, that they gonna see something wrong and they ain't going to correct it because they want to do what everybody else is doing because they're scared of what man's going to do. You're supposed to fear the one that can destroy your spirit and your body. We run around scared of the ones that can only destroy our body. And then today, ain't nobody going to kill you. You stand up for what's right. Ain't like they going to pull a pistol out. You better do what we say, else we're going to blow your noodles out. That ain't going to happen. You scared for nothing. It's a sugar pill, placebo. It really don't do nothing. People, you know what I'm saying, just like with these titles that we be giving each other, it's a placebo. Right now, those titles don't mean nothing. It don't mean nothing. Ain't like when you get the title of captain, a deacon, a bishop, like somebody going to hand you the keys to a new house and keys to a car and give you a 401k, and then they're going to, you know what I'm saying, it's like it's going to change your life. It's just something that we do between each other. Outside, it don't mean nothing. You walk to the store and they call you Larry. Only amongst each other do we call each other cap this and officer that. They don't mean nothing. Y'all scared of nothing. Nobody can fear for nothing. Fear the Lord. But read on.
Verse 16. Like as a wave is greater than a drop.
That's how many of us is gonna perish because we don't want to do what the Lord said. Like a wave is greater than a drop. We're gonna drop, bloop, ocean wave. And somebody take one of them eyedroppers and bloop. The drop is them that be saved. The wave is the people that just gonna do whatever. They're gonna follow man. Don't let yourself be in that category. Let's go to Luke 24. Luke 24. It don't matter where the word come from. As long as it's coming out of this Bible, if somebody shows you something and you see that thing to be true, change, repent, stop, and turn the other way. Similar to the new moon, when we was celebrating the new moon wrong. We were celebrating as the dark. And that's one of the classes we're going to do. Because some of y'all like, nah, the new moon is the dark moon. All right, that's the class we're going to do. We're going to break that all the way down. And if you believe, Okay, if you see it, okay. If you don't, all right, brother. I pray the Most High give you a better understanding. And I hope you pray the same thing for me. Not to fight, not to argue about it. We're here to try to uplift our people. Not strong arm you into believing what we believe. We're just going to show you the scriptures, give you the visual, and then you make the decision for yourself. As for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. I'm not here to beat the scriptures over your head. I'm just here to teach you because I love you. I'm not here to be your leader. I'm just here to teach you because I love you. I'm your brother, a fellow servant. That's it. Same way for my brother Masharathyah. That's how we getting down. Let them other men rule over you. 24:1.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 24, and verse 1. Now upon the first day of the week.
Now upon the first day of the week, when?
Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, they came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them.
Now remember, we're going to figure out what time frame is this and what's going on. Right here, this is after Christ was crucified, and then later that night, that same night, they put him in the sepulchre. So this is the next morning, very early in the morning, right? Now let's jump over to chapter 23 and verse 50.
Luke chapter 23 and verse 50. And behold, there was a man named Joseph, a counselor, and he was a good man and a just. The same had not consented to the counsel and deed of them. He was of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God.
Mm-hmm.
This man went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. And he took it down and wrapped it in linen and laid it in a sepulchre that was hewn in stone, wherein never man before was laid.
Now stop right there. He said, so this man, Jason of Arimathea, he went to Pilate. Now imagine, now this is where y'all have to think. This is where I had to learn not to just listen to piece by piece, but put yourself there. Crucifixion going on. Sun dark from the 6th to the 9th hour. 9th hour is around about 3 o'clock. Christ set up on that cross from 3 o'clock all the way to sundown. So from 3 o'clock all the way to the evening. Now remember, Christ was the Passover. We're going to go into the Passover also, maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. I think we're going to New Moon and Passover Wednesday. That'd be the class we put together. Okay, but look, remember, Christ was the Passover. So everything that happened to Christ had to happen according to the Passover. Because remember, the sacrifices and the Passover was a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. All of that stuff that we was doing back then, Christ did away with, showing us I am the sacrifice. That stuff was just getting y'all ready to see and recognize what I'm going to do. So this night that Christ was sacrificed, he stayed up on that cross until evening. I'm going to prove that. This is when Joseph of Arimathea actually went to Pilate. Hold this and get Matthew chapter 27. Matthew 27 and 57. To show Christ was up there for a minute. He was up there for some hours. Because from 3 o'clock until the sun started setting, he was up there on that cross. And then after the sun set, because Joseph went to Pilate in the evening. So he had to travel to get to Pilate, beg audience of Pilate, then beg Pilate to get Christ's body down. Pilate asked some questions. Hey, is he dead yet? You know what I'm saying? What's going on? He had to get that answer. Then he had to travel back, get some people to help him get this cross down. Because it ain't like he just went and snapped, chopped it down, let Christ just plop on the ground. It took time to do that. I would venture to say, I don't know for sure. This is me, not the word, because I don't have a scripture that says this. But I would say, putting myself there, it was going to take a few hours just to get him off the cross. Get the men to come and dig up the cross and get him down. Or whatever. It's going to take, and to wrap him up, it's going to take a while. So what time frame was this happening in? Get Matthew 27 and 57.
The book of Matthew, chapter 27 and verse 57. When the evening was come.
When the evening was come, read.
There came a rich man of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was Jesus' disciple. He went to Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth. And
now let's go back to Luke. So this was when the evening had come. So Christ sat up there for a minute. Now the evening is coming. Go back to Luke 23 and start at 54. Luke 20. This day that all this was going on was what day? Let's find out.
Luke 23 and 54. And that day was a preparation, and the Sabbath drew on.
Yep. Just like Amiel said. And when he took the body down, they had to get the nails out without breaking bones, because none of his bones could be broke, just like at Passover. Says the lamb, you got to cook it with the innards in. Don't break none of the bones. Set it up there whole and cook that bad boy. Same way with Christ. That's why none of his bones could be broke, because all this stuff that was happening to him was happening to him according to the Passover. He was the sacrifice of Passover, our Passover lamb. That's why all had to go exactly according to the ordinance of Passover. And it had to all start happening in the evening time, at night. So after they took everything down, what day was this? Verse 54, read that.
Verse 54, and that day was the preparation. And
it says, and that day was the preparation day.
And the Sabbath drew on.
And the Sabbath was coming. So when they took it down, when they took him down in the evening time, if the next day was the Sabbath, wouldn't that have already been the Sabbath? In the evening time, when they start doing all this, wouldn't that have been the Sabbath? Because if we do it from, this is preparation day. This would be prep day, Friday. Now, around here, right here in the evening time is when he went to go beg the body of Christ. So by the time he got Christ down, it would be right up in here somewhere. Maybe let's say early in the night. Let's say that. But they call it that. What? Read verse
54. Verse 54, and that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on.
So that time when they was doing all this, they said that was the preparation day, and the Sabbath was coming. This is when the morning was going to come. The Sabbath was coming on. So when they took him down, he was there at 3 o'clock. He stayed all the way up to evening time. At evening time, Joseph went to go beg his body down. Evening only lasts for maybe an hour and a half. The evening time, you know, the sun, once the sun starts setting, you got about an hour, maybe an hour and a half before it goes all the way down. So you telling me within an hour, hour and a half, he went, traveled to Pilate, begged the body, traveled all the way back, took Christ down, carefully took the body down, wrapped it in linen, took the body and put it in the sepulcher, all that within an hour and a half. Man, no, man. It don't make no sense. But we know that it says that all this was happening prep day. So if at nighttime, that would have already been the Sabbath, according to what we've been taught. The Sabbath would have been there already, because the Sabbath starts at night. And then that next morning would have been the rest of the Sabbath, according to what we've been taught. We've been taught wrong, y'all. They wasn't doing it like that. And we're going to prove it. If you don't already see it, some of y'all need a lot more proof. We got a lot more proof. So read 54 again, read it on down.
Verse 54, and that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid.
So when they took his body down and wrapped it, the women that was following Christ, imagine what's going through their mind right there. They crying, they can't believe it, they crying. What they want to do is make sure that they prepare his body right. It's the Lord, everything that they went through with him, they saw him healing, and then they tore up. They tore up. Now, if this is prep day, if this right here, watch this. This right here, if this was the, matter of fact, I ain't gonna, we'll read on, because I'm jumping ahead. Read that again.
Verse 55, and the women also, which came with him from Galilee, followed after, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment.
So when that stuff was going on with Christ, I'm telling y'all, according to the scriptures, then when the evening come, when he went to go beg Christ's body, he took all this night and prepared to get Christ down and get everything prepared and whatnot, and then wrapped his body and put him in the sepulcher. Now it's real late. They got to go home and prepare themselves for the Sabbath, because the Sabbath is coming. They had to prepare themselves for the Sabbath. That's why they had to hurry up and get his body down, and then they still got to go keep the Lord's Sabbath, because Christ did die and whatnot. And that's just, at that moment, they're like, yes, the Lord. But they wasn't about to break the Sabbath the next day, so they was prep day. So they had to hurry up and get home and prep. Now these women was following to see where they lay the body at. And then they went and prepared spices. Why? Because they had in their mind, I'm going to wrap this body up and prepare it right. We can't do it right now because we ain't got enough time, because the Sabbath is drawing on. We got to hurry up and get back and handle our business. Crying and all that. Right? Now watch this. Read 56.
Verse 56, and they returned.
In what's going on. Put your mind in what's going on. So this is all prep day when all this stuff is going on. Prep day, preparing the Passover. This is when all the stuff, when you got to kill the Passover that night, At evening, you got to kill the Passover according to Exodus. That's all that was going on right here. And then in the morning, nothing left over and all that. You got to hurry to do it before the morning time. Because the morning right here was about to be Sabbath. But we're going to prove it. Read on.
Verse 56, and they returned and prepared spices and ointments and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment.
So they went home right here, and then this whole day they rested. All the way through the night, because this was the Sabbath day. From the morning all the way to the night. And I'm going to prove it. Watch this. Jump to Matthew 28 and 1. Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1. Now remember, it was prep day when they was doing all this, getting Christ down and all this. It was evening when they before he even pulled Christ off the cross, it was starting to grow into the night. That's when he went to Pilate and asked, can we get Christ's body down? Because they had to get it down before the Sabbath. Hold that real quick. Get John chapter 19 and verse 31.
John
rushing that night to hurry up and get him down because the next morning was the Sabbath, not that night. Read that.
John 19:31. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain upon the cross on the Sabbath day.
They was like, we got to get that tonight. That body got to come down because in the morning we can't have that body up on the Sabbath day. Why? Because not only is it Saturday, the seventh day, but this Sabbath starts the beginning of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is a high Sabbath for us. This ain't just no regular Sabbath. Read on.
For that Sabbath day was an high day. Besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken away.
You see that? So they was like, look, it's preparation day. Look, Christ can't be up on that cross come the sun crack because the Sabbath is coming. That Sabbath is a high holy day, not only just a 7-day Sabbath. That's a high Sabbath. That's the beginning of the feast, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The night before is when you killed the Passover. That's when Christ got killed. That's when you kill and eat the Passover. The next morning starts the first day of unleavened bread. We can't have him up on the cross. They call that preparation day. But watch this. Matthew chapter 28 and verse 1. Let's see. Either we know better after going through all these captivities, all these lies, listening to the fake Jews tell us all these lies about when we're supposed to do this, that, and the third. Either we know better or they know better back then when they're giving us an account of how this thing happened. Some of y'all gonna read this and be like, well, they just didn't know that you were supposed to keep it in the evening. Watch this, read that.
Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath.
Stop. It says, in the end of the Sabbath. So right here, we're establishing that this is still the Sabbath. It's inside, during, in that time span, in the end of the Sabbath. Read.
As it began to dawn toward the first day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre.
So what is this talking about? We're going to come back here. Go to go to John 20 and 1. We're going to get each account of this. So it says, in the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn. Dawn means to grow light for the first appearance of sun, the first appearance of light through the night when the sun is coming up. It ain't bright in the sky yet. It ain't yellow. It ain't orange. You don't see the pretty colors. It's starting to get a little gray haze, and you can see over the horizon, the sun coming up. That's the dawn. It says, as it began to dawn towards the first day of the week. Now get John 20 and 1.
John chapter 20 and verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark.
So it was yet dark. So it was dark when Mary Magdalene started traveling. So she got up early in the morning, probably, if I had to guess, and these ain't real hours, but let's say she got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the sun was about to come up around 6. She got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, got herself ready, got the other Mary, got the spices, and got the stuff so they can go treat Christ's body. It's been sitting in there all through the Sabbath, probably starting to stink. Imagine the crying they was doing on the Sabbath day because the Lord is sitting in there and we've been in there all day. I say all day and all night. And it's going to prove all day and all night. This is going to prove that. The Sabbath was all that day and all that night. So she got up and it was yet dark when she started traveling. Go to Luke 24 and 1.
Luke chapter 24 and 1. Now upon the first day of the week, very early in the morning, They came unto the sepulchre, bringing the spices which they had prepared, and certain others with them.
Okay, so we know this very early in the morning, while it's still dark, but it's going towards the sunrise is about to start happening. And go back to Matthew. Now, what was that dark period that they was in? What was that? Now, we've been taught if the day starts from evening to evening, then Saturday night, that would have ended the Sabbath. Do you not think that Mary and everybody else that loved Jesus wouldn't have, when the sun was about to go down, they wouldn't have been making their way to the sepulchre? We got to go and prepare the Lord's body. We ain't just going to leave it there. You think they just going to get a good night's sleep? Sabbath's over. It's prep day. Sabbath's over. It's the first day of the week, meaning the evening. So we've been taught. And they just going to sleep through the night, chill. Then we'll wake up early in the morning and go get them. No, they would have got him. They would have handled their business. You know that because right here it's showing that Mary and they was traveling early in the morning while it was yet dark. They making their way there. They're making their way there to the sepulchre. Now watch this. Read verse 28:1 again.
Matthew chapter 28, verse 1. In the end of the Sabbath.
It was in the end of the Sabbath, while it was yet dark. The Sabbath was still in play. In the end of the Sabbath, read.
As it began to dawn.
As it began to grow light, the sun starting to come up towards what?
Toward the first day of the week.
It should have been, if this was evening to evening, like we've been taught, the day before, when the sun was going down, it would have been like in the end of the Sabbath, as the evening as it began to grow dark towards the first day of the week. But they wasn't keeping no evening to evening back then. That's us. So right here it says, here we go, prep day. Christ's body on the cross. The evening of Friday, which would be prep day, the day before the Sabbath, Pilate went to go get Christ, to go ask him to get Christ's body down. Throughout that night, they was taking him down and wrapping him in the linen and whatnot, and getting him put in the sepulcher. They didn't prepare his body properly, like they were supposed to do to preserve it and whatnot. And they feel bad about that, because Mary and them got up real early after the Sabbath and rushed to go handle Christ and make sure that he was all right, his body was all right. So they had to hurry up and get him down before the Sabbath started the next morning. And then it says they rested on the Sabbath. So they rested all the way through the day, and around this time at night, early in the morning while it was still dark, Mary was making her way to the sepulchre. Why? Because the Sabbath was about to be over. Now she can start working again. She's got to go in there and wrap this man's body up correctly and do what should have been done. But they couldn't. Why? Because they were celebrating the Sabbath. This nighttime part was still the Sabbath. If it wasn't, right here in the daytime, when evening started coming, Mary would have been at that sepulchre. Mary and probably a bunch of other people would have been at that sepulchre making sure before this night goes through, they wrap Christ's body up. Because the Sabbath would have been over right here, according to what we learned. But why they wait all the way right here? Why? Because that was still the Sabbath. It wasn't no evening to evening. And then it tells you, read Matthew 28:1 again.
In the end of the Sabbath,
as it
began to dawn.
Right here when it was going to dawn towards the morning.
Toward the first day of the week.
So the end of the Sabbath was when it was yet dark, and it was about to dawn towards the first day of the week, the next day. Nobody kept no evening to evening. Now some of y'all gonna hear these scriptures and y'all gonna hear this understanding. Y'all go like, man, they're going off. And y'all just gonna say it just to be saying it so you can please your leadership. But I'm telling you, brothers and sisters, got a mind for yourself. Look at the scriptures and think. We ain't done yet.
Hold on, Judah. Let me say something real quick. If it was evening to evening, right? If they was keeping it like that, Mary would have been wrong because it said as it dawned toward the first day. If it was evening to evening, she still can't do nothing in the daytime like that because you have to keep the Sabbath from evening to evening if that was the case. But that wasn't the case. The Sabbath was over in the morning, so she was able to go wrap his body.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go to John 20:1.
John chapter 20 and verse 1. The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark.
So the first day of the week, we know that the first day of the week that it's talking about is early when it was yet dark, meaning the sun was just now dawning. It was beginning to be the first day of the week. So she came the first day. It wasn't going to say now on the Sabbath she came because she didn't come to do it on the Sabbath. She was traveling through the night of the Sabbath to get there so she can do it first thing in the morning on Sunday, the first day of the week. So it says she came while it was yet dark. Read on.
The first day of the week cometh Mary Magdalene early, when it was yet dark, unto the sepulchre, and seeth the stone taken away from the sepulchre. Then she runneth and cometh to Simon Peter and to the other disciple whom Jesus loved, and saith unto them, They have taken away the Lord out of the sepulchre, and we know not where they have laid him. Peter therefore went forth.
Stop. Jump down to verse 11.
Verse 11. But Mary stood without at the sepulchre weeping, and she wept. She stooped down and looked into the sepulchre.
So now she thinks somebody done stole Christ's body. She thinks the Romans or the Pharisees or somebody that came and stole Christ's body because they hated him. So she's crying. She don't know what's going on. Now imagine. That's what I say. Think about her mind state when she was on the Sabbath day. On the Sabbath day when she had to keep the Sabbath. If the Sabbath actually ended in the daytime, Mary's jacked up behind this stuff. She would have been there that night, Saturday night. She would have been there to handle Christ. But it didn't end until the morning. And when she got there in that morning and he wasn't there, now she's crying. She don't know what's going on. So jump over to verse 18. Now this is all happening in the same day. Now watch this. Now the morning, we know the morning had come, because that's when she was there very early in the morning while it was yet dark, the sun beginning to come up. It's still kind of dark. Like when some of y'all go to work early in the morning, when we go to work, when we get up and the sun is not up yet, and on your way to work, by the time you leave out, it's dark as hell, but in your 20, 30-minute trip to work, it's bright as hell outside. That was the time frame that Mary was coming, when it was dark and it was about to, the sun was starting to come up. You can kind of see a little bit better. Now you can make out the trees and the different things. Read. Verse 8. Now this is the same day. This is later on that day.
John chapter 20 and verse 18. Mary Magdalene came and told the disciples that she had seen the Lord and that he had spoken these things unto her.
So now Mary done traveled and she came to the disciples and like, look, I seen Christ. He's up, he's back. So she's telling the disciples what he said. Now read.
Verse 19. Then the same day at evening.
And then what?
Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week.
Hold on. At evening, that wouldn't have been the same day. Because we've been taught at evening to evening. The evening in the morning, change the day. It said that same day at evening, being the first day. Just read. All you got to do is just read. Shut that doctrine out of your mind that you don't get taught, and just actually look at what the Bible's saying. These is what our forefathers was doing. These is what our patriarchs was doing. Our matriarchs was doing. This is how they was keeping it. The evening didn't change the day right there. It said it flat out. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, it ain't hard to figure out. We blocked this stuff out because leadership said, and we just follow what they said. Remember at one point, leadership was telling y'all, and I'm talking about all of y'all from all these different camps that believe that evening to evening, or any one of these other doctrines that you yourself didn't study up on. Remember at one point, the moon was dark, and that was the new moon, and everybody that didn't do it like that was the damn devil. They ain't got the true understanding. They the devil. And then it switched to the light moon, and everybody's just like, okay, light moon. I don't know how to explain it, but I'm going to do it because leadership said it, so it must be true. I esteem these men as great. Study for yourself. Read the Bible. Study to show yourself approved. Don't just listen to me. You're going to hear this class and don't be like, I'm just going to do it because Judah Macc and Masharathyah said, and I believe them are good guys, so I'm going to just follow them. I ain't reading nothing. They read it for me. Now, get off this class and dig in. Take the next 2-3 weeks and dig in. Make sure you know that you know that you know. Because you're going to stand before God. He ain't going to ask you, what did they teach you? He's going to ask you, what was you doing? What did you know? Read that again. Verse 19.
Verse 19. Then the same day at evening, being the first day of the week, when the doors were shut.
It says when the doors were shut. What time frame is that talking about? It says then the same day at evening, being the first day, still Sunday, still the first day of the week. Remember she said it came and it dawned towards the first day after the Sabbath? In the Sabbath, while it was yet dark, dawning towards the first day, then later on that day, Mary came to the disciples. Later that day, in the evening, still being the first day, when the doors were shut. What does that mean when the doors were shut? Why'd they say that? What's the significance of when the doors were shut? Let's see what the time frame was. Go to Joshua chapter 2, verse 5. The book of Joshua chapter 2, verse 5. When did the doors get shut? The gates get shut. When did they shut everything down? We got to find out what time frame this was. And it was the same day in the evening, being the first day, when the doors were shut.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 5. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate when it was dark.
Stop. That's all I wanted out there. The time of the shutting of the gate or the shutting down of the city or the shutting of the doors when everybody goes in is in the evening when it is dark. That's what it, read that again.
And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate when it was dark.
When it was dark. The time of shutting of the gates or shutting down your house, shutting down the city, according to our custom, is when it was dark. Let's go back. When it was dark. So when we go back to John 20 and 19, read that again.
John 20 and 19. Then the same day at evening. Being the first day of the week.
Being the first, still that same first day, but it was evening now.
When the doors were shut.
When the doors were shut, when? When it was dark. How's that still the first day if we're doing even to even? That would have been, and it came to pass at evening, being the second day, when the doors were shut. But it didn't say that because they wasn't doing no evening to evening. That's a doctrine that we learned, and when you look it up for the fake Jews, when you look up on their website, when do they celebrate the day? When do they celebrate the start of the Sabbath? It'd be an evening. Why are we doing what these dang on devils that stole our identity are doing? Because leadership told you to do it. Leadership. I hate that word. I hate the word leadership. These supposed to be brothers. We're supposed to be like what Christ told us. Don't exalt yourself over nobody. Be y'all brothers. When you do that leadership stuff, that's your mechanism to tell you that I don't have to do nothing but listen to them. Because they said listen, and all I'm going to do is listen because they're right, and all my salvation is in listening to them. Man, it's going to be bad for you when the judgment comes. Work out your own soul salvation. So it's when it was yet dark, when the doors were shut. Notice the day didn't change right there. It said clearly, being the same day, still the first day. Some of y'all gonna shut your mind and be like, nope, leadership. Jump down, go to Nehemiah 7. This is one of the scriptures that be used to be like, see, because he shut the gates when it was getting dark because of the Sabbath. Nah, the gates always shut every single day when it was dark. The time of the shutting of the gates is when it was dark. Every day. It didn't have nothing to do whether it was Saturday, whether it was the first, second, the sixth. Every day we closed our gates at dark. So when you close the gates before the Sabbath, that means the night before the Sabbath, the gates are shut. And they don't open on the Sabbath neither. So that next morning, when it says when the sun gets high and you're supposed to open the gates and trade and buying and selling starts again, nah. The gates are shut before the Sabbath the night before, and it stays shut until Sunday morning. That's how it went down. But we'll use Nehemiah and be like, see, the day, you know what I'm saying? They shut the gates at nighttime because the Sabbath was about to start at night. No, they shut the gates every night. You can't use that. You got to study it to understand that. Nehemiah, and y'all excuse my passion. I'm just passionate about this because I want my brothers and sisters to wake up. It's a lot of stuff that we learn wrong, and it's high time that we wake up. Stop following men. Stop these same men to tell you you ain't getting the kingdom, he ain't getting the kingdom, she ain't getting the kingdom. I'll tell you if you ain't with them, then you out of the body of Christ. These same men will tell you all kind of heresy. All kind of heresy as if they got the control of God's people, the control of God's word. You either with us or you ain't in the truth. I'm telling you, stop following that. You following it to death. That's what you're doing. You're following it to death because you ain't took hold of your own salvation. They got your salvation in their pocket, and you sitting there following and hoping that they give it to you. Stop. Nehemiah chapter 7 and verse 1.
Nehemiah chapter 7 and verse 1. Now it came to pass when the wall was built, and I had set up the doors, and the porters and the singers and the Levites were appointed, that I gave my brother Hananiah and Hananiah, the ruler of the palace, charge over Jerusalem, for he was a faithful man and feared God above many. And I said unto them, let not the gates of Jerusalem be opened until the sun be hot.
So when did they open the gates? When the sun was down, the gates stayed closed. Nehemiah put into order because we was out of order. We was rebuilding the wall and whatnot. And Nehemiah said, look, I set up the doors. Don't open the gates until the sun be hot. That's on any day. Do not open the gates of Jerusalem until the sun be hot. Nighttime, don't have these gates open. For one, that's when your enemy might creep in and try to jack up everything. For two, the city's supposed to shut down. Ain't nobody supposed to be doing no business at night. He said, don't open them gates until the sun be hot. That's when the sun come up. Don't open them while it was getting dark, still kind of creep. When the sun is up in the sky, then you can open the gates. Until then, leave them gates shut. That was the custom. That's why it says the time of the shutting of the gates at night. Because at nighttime, we kept the gates closed, period. That was our custom. We shut down work at nighttime. It wasn't no 7-Eleven, no third shift. It wasn't none of that. We shut it down at night. We closed the gates, closed the doors. People was inside eating with their family at the dinner table and enjoying the rest of the night before they go to sleep, get rest for the next work day. That's how we was doing. Now drop that real quick and go to Nehemiah 13. Now this is where we get used to be like, see, brother? He shut the gates before the Sabbath at night because the night start the Sabbath. No, it don't. Study. Read the history. He shut the gates at night because he was supposed to shut the dang on gates at night. It came a part of a period of time that Nehemiah was addressing. He was like, I ain't shutting the gates at night no more. Not only y'all keeping them up throughout the day, y'all got them open on the Sabbath. And then at night they bringing in stuff. And in the morning they bringing in stuff. Throughout the night they bringing in stuff. That's why Nehemiah was like, man, I'm going to beat y'all's ass. Keep on doing it. I'm going to beat your ass. I got to say it plain, so excuse my language. Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 3.
Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 3. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law, that they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude.
Now this is after Nehemiah already set up the order to make sure that y'all keep the gates closed. Don't open them up. All night keep them closed. Don't open them till the sun is high. Till the sun is hot in the sky. Read on.
And before this, Eliashib the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our God, was allied unto Tobiah. And he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, the frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine, and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites, and to the singers, and to the porters, and the offerings of the priests. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem.
So he left. He took some leave from Jerusalem, Nehemiah did. And when he left, man, Tobiah, if you read in the history, for those of you that don't read, that don't know, Tobiah was one of the people that came against us when we was trying to build up the wall, when we was trying to build the gates back up and whatnot. He was trying to stop him and some other people and some of the dang on Arabs or whatever. They was trying to stop us from building. They sending letters and whatnot, trying to get us jacked up. So later on, Nehemiah done left. Now this snake done hooked up with some of our people, and now they done allied with this fool. And instead of giving the priests and the Levites and the widows and all that, the offerings and all that that's commanded by the law, they had this stuff in Tobiah. They set up a room for Tobiah, and he was getting the stuff. Like, what the hell is going on? So this is with Nehemiah. He come back, and he find this going on in Jerusalem. So he said, verse 6, read.
Verse 6. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem. For in the 32nd year of Artaxerxes, king of Babylon, came I unto the king, and after certain days obtained I leave of the king.
Mm-hmm.
And I came to Jerusalem, and understood of the evil that Eliashib did for Tobiah in preparing him a chamber in the courts of the house of God.
How you got this heathen in the courts of the house of God? What the hell is going on? How you got this devil? This is the same dude that was trying to stop us from building. Y'all got him in there, and then y'all giving him the offerings. Read on.
Verse 8. And it grieved me sore. Therefore I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber.
So Nehemiah said, I kicked this butt out. This is evil. Y'all got this dude in here. Jump down to 10.
Verse 10. And I perceived that the portions of the Levites had not been given them. For the Levites and the singers that did the work were fled every one to his field.
Now remember when Nehemiah set up the gates, he set up the Levites, the singers, and the porters, and had everybody. He said that now they wasn't even getting what they were supposed to get. They done fled. They ain't even here no more. What the hell are the Levites? Y'all got Tobiah in here. Man, y'all evil as hell. So Nehemiah's coming and put in work. He's like, man, I'm about to set this stuff straight. Jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15.
Now remember, he said, keep the gates closed every night until the sun gets hot, till the sun's up in the sky, till the sun be hot. When it's up there and it's beaming now. Read.
Verse 15. In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath.
So he come back and he see, these Negroes is working on the Sabbath. What the hell is going on? Read on.
And bringing in sheaves and lading asses.
And they bringing in sheep. The gates are open. They bringing in sheaves, lading asses, hooking up, putting burdens on donkeys and running them in and out the gate. Now Nehemiah's coming back. He's been gone for a while. He gets leave of the king of Babylon to come back. And this is what he come back finding going on in Jerusalem. They working on the Sabbath. This dang old devil sitting up in the Lord's palace, and he got the stuff that the Levites are supposed to be getting. What the hell is wrong with these Negroes? Read on.
As also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day.
So the gates are open. It's the Sabbath. The gates are open, and they bringing stuff in and out. Now the gates are supposed to have been shut the night before. Read on.
And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, what evil thing is this that ye do?
Now they had people of the men of Tyre, they had the heathen coming in and selling to us. On the Sabbath day, gates wide open. They bringing in, they fish and all kind of stuff. Tyre, all of them, they bringing in stuff and selling it. So Nehemiah's like, I contended with them. Like, what the hell evil is this? What are y'all doing? Read on. Remember I told you I keep the gates shut at night. And y'all damn sure ain't supposed to open them on the Sabbath. What's going on? Read on.
What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day?
Read.
Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before...
So when it started getting dark, hold that real quick. So to have y'all remember the thought, give me that in, where was we at? Joshua 2. Go to Joshua 2 and verse 5.
Joshua chapter 2 and verse 5.
We holding that in Nehemiah. Joshua chapter 2 verse 5. Read.
Joshua 2 and 5. And it came to pass about the time of shutting of the gate, when it was dark.
Go back to Nehemiah. So with the time of shutting of the gate is when it was dark. Whether it be the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, sixth day, seventh day. We shut the gates when it was dark. Nehemiah told them earlier when we read in Nehemiah 7, it said shut the gates. And don't open them up every day until the sun be hot. Don't be opening the gates, being all in a rush to open up the city for trade. When the sun's all the way up, then open the gates. That's the order that was set. He was taking us back to the way we're supposed to do it. Right here, he found the gates open. So watch this. So here comes the preparation day. It's about to be dark, and this is what Nehemiah said.
Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath,
the day before the Sabbath, meaning that night before, on preparation day, when it began to be dark, Nehemiah said what? Read.
I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath.
So what's that talking about? The gates is always shut at night. So here goes prep day. It's Friday, the day before the Sabbath. Nehemiah already said this is where you're supposed to shut the gates at evening time when it started to get dark. He said, I commanded before the Sabbath that the gates be shut, and that they don't be open until after the Sabbath. He wasn't talking about that night because the gates stay shut at night anyway. He wasn't talking about at night. He wasn't going to tell them, yeah, you're going to open it after the Sabbath when the sun go down, open the gates and let everybody in. No, the reason he said before the Sabbath here is because the gates are supposed to be shut at night, before the Sabbath, before any night, before the sun goes down any day. The reason he said before the Sabbath, because it was the day before the Sabbath. Shut them to here. Don't open them here in the daytime on Saturday, and don't open them here at nighttime on Saturday because they don't open at night anyway, plus that's still the Sabbath. The gates didn't open to Sunday, the first day, when the sun was hot. That's how it was going down. That wasn't telling us no evening to evening right there. But if you don't study, you just listen to men. You just gonna follow whatever. And right now, some of y'all, just because y'all brainwashed, everyone be like, man, they the devil. I ain't listening to that. They left the truth. Some of y'all still gonna act like dang on zombies. We got more scriptures. It ain't over yet. It ain't over. It ain't over. Read on. Verse 19 again.
Verse 19. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that they should not be open till after the Sabbath. And some of my servant set I at the gates, that there should no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. Verse 20. So the merchants and sellers of all kind of ware lodged without Jerusalem once or twice.
So look, what was they doing? So on the Sabbath night and on the Sabbath day, they lodged without Jerusalem. They was right here, right here, right here. They was lodging out there waiting, just in case somebody came traveling in. They went, hey, let us in. We're here to get in the city or whatever. I'm a Jew. The merchants be like, hey, come here, man. You want to buy some of this fish before you go up in there? Nehemiah sent some people out there to watch that stuff. He said they lodged out there once or twice, and then what Nehemiah do?
Verse 21. Then I testified against them and said unto them,
hey,
why lodge
the hell away from the gate. He testified against them. Get the hell away from our gates. Read.
Why lodge ye about the wall? If ye do so again, I will lay hands on you. From that time forth came they no more on the Sabbath.
So Nehemiah said, look, shut the gates the day before, that night before the Sabbath. That night, shut the gates. Don't open it on the Sabbath. Don't open it after the Sabbath. Don't open it until after the Sabbath, on the first day, when the sun is hot in the sky. That's when you open the gates. So the gates stayed open Friday night, Saturday in the daytime, Saturday night didn't open again until Sunday. They resumed their business. That's the understanding. Not evening to evening. See, he shut it in the evening because that was the Sabbath. He shut it in the evening because it was supposed to be shut in the evening. The city was supposed to be shut down. There wasn't no evening to evening doctrine. That's the first one they'll use to be like, see, evening to evening. Bang, wrong, wrong, wrong. 2 Chronicles, chapter 2, verse 4. We got more. We got more. All praises be to the Most High God for bringing this understanding out for you brothers and sisters to get it. Remember, once you hear this class, once you receive this thing in your spirit, don't do that evening to evening. Saturday night, you start cooking and doing all that, you are breaking God's Sabbath. It ain't over yet. Remember, in Matthew 28, she said, while it was still the Sabbath, she came that while it was yet dark, as it began to dawn towards the first day, still being the Sabbath and that yet dark. So that means you weren't supposed to be cooking, buying, selling, working, or whatever. You weren't supposed to be doing that Saturday night. We've been taught to break God's Sabbath. In my spirit, I don't believe that men did it on purpose, just what they thought to be true. I don't think people, and if they are, God have mercy on their soul. But here's the understanding. Now, what you gonna do? Are you gonna continue to break the Sabbath? You gonna start the Sabbath when it ain't the Sabbath? End the Sabbath when it ain't ended yet? Or are you gonna do what God says? You gonna follow man or you gonna follow God? Now, don't follow me. Study. Just read the scriptures. Don't follow me. Don't do it because I say do it. Don't do it because Masharathyah say do it. Read the Bible. You're responsible for your own faith. Quit watching me and talking about my bishop said. Don't talk about my bishop. You come against my bishop. You just a Christian. It's the same spirit you bringing back into this truth. My pastor, I ain't got to read pastor said. That's the same dang on spirit. And y'all follow that. That's that cult-minded spirit, that Christian cult spirit. Take hold of your own faith. Get in this Bible. Give me that 2 Chronicles 2 and 4.
2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, I build an house to the name of the Lord my God, to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continual showbread, and for the burnt offerings, morning and evening.
When? When?
And morning and evening.
Why didn't it say evening and evening? When? And read on.
Morning and evening on the Sabbaths.
So hold on. So when did they start sacrificing to begin the day? Morning of the Sabbath, evening of the Sabbath. Because it was the same day. They started in the morning and then they did the last sacrifice in the evening. It wasn't no evening to evening. Otherwise they would have said evening and morning on the Sabbath. They said morning and evening on the Sabbath. Which one came first? The morning. Read on.
Morning and evening on the Sabbaths and on the new moons.
So on the new moon, it didn't start at night. Well, it got to start at night because it's the moon. Man, you know when the new moon is coming. You can see the day before. The moon's almost full. The next day we know is the new moon. Morning and evening on the new moons also. That's when they started. Was that it on that? Read on.
No. And on the solemn feast of the Lord our God, this is an ordinance forever to Israel.
Morning and evening. Drop that. Go to Exodus chapter 10 and verse 13. There was one feast day that we started our Sabbath, that we began to celebrate that feast day, that Sabbath, in the evening. And that was the Day of Atonement. And there was a reason for that. And we'll get to it. Exodus chapter 10 and verse 13. He said, you start your sacrifices in the morning, you finish your sacrifice in the evening. And when you wake up the next day for the next day's sacrifice, you started in the morning, and then you ended in the evening.
Exodus chapter 10, verse 13. And Moses stretched forth his rod over the land of Egypt. And the Lord brought an east wind upon the land all that day and all that night. And when it was morning, the east wind brought the locusts.
Well, notice he said all that day and all that night. All that day and all that night. Because they was the same day. Then the next morning, that was a new day, and it's going to be a new night. Hold that. I mean, don't hold that. Go to Exodus 29:38. Watch this. About the sacrifice. The day started in the morning. Everything always begins in the morning. Exodus chapter 29 and verse 38.
Exodus chapter 29, verse 38. Now this is that which thou shalt offer upon the altar. 2 lambs of the first year, day by day, continually.
So day by day, continually. So every day you're supposed to do this. When does it start? Read on.
The 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning.
What?
The 1 lamb thou shalt offer in the morning.
Hold up. What about the... Hold on. If it started in the evening and we're supposed to offer 2, why are we starting in the morning? Read.
And the other lamb thou shalt offer at even.
Why did he start in the morning if it's evening to evening? We're supposed to offer 2 lambs. He said 1 in the morning, then 1 in the evening. Why did we start why didn't we start in the evening? Why didn't he say the 1 lamb in the evening and the other the following morning? Why? Because the morning started the day. That's why I said the 1 lamb in the morning and the other one in the evening. We got taught something wrong. We've been taught to break God's commandments. It's high time that we wake up. The scriptures, they knew what they was doing back then. That wasn't no mistake. He worded everything else right there. Every time you read about the sacrifice starting in the morning and then finishing in the evening, that was a mistake. Moses was tripping. He was confused. You know, he had fasted 40 days. He was a little bit loopy. He knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was saying. In Matthew, when they said the morning, it says while it was yet Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day, they knew exactly what they were saying. They knew how to serve the Lord better than we do today. Now we learning to wake up. It's going to be on you if you just go back and do whatever. It's going to be on you.
Hey, Judah, hold on. Let me say something on this scripture. So think about this, y'all. You had to sacrifice 2 lambs in 1 day. 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening. If evening was the next day, then they would be off. You would be wrong because you got to do 2 lambs in 1 day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. So somebody should have been like, hold on. If it's 2 lambs in 1 day, why are we sacrificing in the evening? Because the evening is the next day. The reason why is because the evening and the morning and the evening is still 1 day. And your next day does not start until the morning of the following day. So that's why. So again, you had to have 2 lambs, sacrifice 2 lambs in 1 day. So you did 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. Evening still being the same day. Go ahead, Drew.
Right. Jump to Leviticus chapter 6, and we're going to read verse 20. Watch this. And look, and we almost done. I'm almost done with this class. I ain't going to stretch it out because we got 3 days worth of this. At the end of these 3 days, if you still doing evening to evening, man, more power to you, man. I pray the Most High forgive you in that day because you're going to turn a blind eye to his understanding. Read that.
You funny. Leviticus chapter 6 and verse 20. This is the offering of Aaron and of his sons, which they shall offer unto the Lord in the day when he is anointed, the 10th part of an ephah.
It says in that day when he's anointed, in that day, it says the 10th part of an ephah, read.
Of fine flour for a meat offering perpetual, half of it in the morning.
Oh, how did it start in the morning again? Here we go again. I guess they didn't understand. They didn't understand evening to evening. They was a little bit off back then. You know, they should have had one of y'all's bishops to come explain that thing to them, right? Half of it when?
a half of it in the morning,
Uh-huh.
and half thereof at night.
Mm-hmm. So it said half of it on that day. You're supposed to do it, half of it in the morning, and then half of it that night. That night, if that night started the next day, then it wouldn't have been the day. It wouldn't have been the same day. It's
Right.
even hard to even understand.
Right. In that whole sentence, again, look at the top of verse 20. It says, "This is the offering of Aaron and of his sons, which they shall offer unto the Lord in the day." In the day. So in that day, you do half in the morning and then at night. It's the same day.
Mm-hmm. Half of it in the morning, half of it in the evening. When did they start the day? Hold that. Drop that. Get Numbers 11. It's all over the Bible. We just ain't paying attention. When we read that, blinders go up. We don't even think about it because it's seared in our mind evening to evening. Numbers. Chapter 11, 11:32.
All right. Numbers chapter 11 and verse 32. "And the people stood up all that day."
Hold on. All that day, read.
"And all that night."
And all that night, same day, all that daytime, and then all that night. Then what does it say?
"And all the next day."
Oh, snap. Did the next day start in the morning? Because it said all that day and all that night. Then all the next day. Well, the next day should have started that night, shouldn't it? That's what we've been taught. We've been taught wrong, y'all. We've been taught wrong. We just ain't looked into this. We had no reason to look into it. We just believe whatever we was told. Read that again, just in case it didn't set in into some people. Did they know what they was doing right then? They was closer to God than we are right now. Hell. Read.
Verse 32. This is Numbers 11 and 32. "And the people stood up all that day."
All that day.
"And all that night."
And all that same night, the same day.
"And all the next day."
And all the next day. So when was the next day? After that day and after that night came the next day and the next night. That's how it was going down. We have been doing it wrong. I say it over and over and over. We've been doing it wrong. It's high time you wake up. Come Friday night, you got all night to cook, prepare for the Sabbath, all that. Before the sun comes up, if you want to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and make you a cup of coffee, make sure that coffee thing is turned off before the sun crack that sky. Because when the sun crack that sky Saturday morning, the Sabbath begins. It's the next day. Just like we read right here, all that day and all that night. Just like we read in Matthew 28 and 1. In the Sabbath, as it began to dawn towards the first day, as the light started coming up towards the first day, but that dark period right there, that was still in the Sabbath night, as it began to dawn towards the first day. I'm telling you, we've been taught wrong. And y'all gonna hear people watch. Y'all gonna hear people come up, "Hey man, they evil as hell. They the devil. I told you they going off. Whenever you leave our camp, you go off. You see that? They going off." If y'all believe that, y'all dumb as hell. Read the scriptures. Don't listen to me. Listen to what the Bible says. Take and write down each one of these scriptures and just go through it, and then cut me. You can cut my voice out of it. And just open your mind and read it for yourself. You're gonna listen to people like they the damn devil because they doing it different from us. It's high time you wake up, Israel. High time you wake up. Let's drop that, go to Leviticus 23. This is the only feast day where it says start in the evening. And there's a reason for that.
What verse you want, Judah?
Leviticus 23, and let's read verse 27.
Leviticus 23.
Hold on, watch this. We'll start at 27, then I'll jump back.
All right, Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 27. "Also on the 10th day of
on the 10th day. Notice it says the 10th day. The Day of Atonement is on the 10th day, not the 9th day. The 10th day is the Day of Atonement. That's when we celebrate it. Read on.
"Also on the 10th day of this 7th month, there shall be a day of atonement.
Right.
It shall be an holy convocation unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls, and offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And ye shall do no work in that same day, for it is a day of atonement, to make an atonement for you before the Lord your God."
It says you should do no work on that day because it's a Day of Atonement. Now, mind you, let's say this is the Day of Atonement. This Sabbath I got right here is the Day of Atonement. It says on this day you ain't supposed to do no work. Now, we already know at nighttime we wasn't doing no work anyway. The night before, we wasn't doing no work either. So they didn't have to specify, you ain't going to do no work in that night. Because we wasn't doing, that wasn't our custom to do work. The gates were shut, it was over. You read in Psalms, what was that, Psalms 104? Where it talks about the animals go out and do their business at night. Man falls back at night, and then we get our business done in the morning. In the evening, our business is done. Christ even said, in the nighttime, no man work. No man work. So we know we ain't working at night anyway, whether it be on the Sabbath or the day one. We ain't working at night. That was our customs back then. Now in this captivity, we got to work. We in captivity, understandable. Some of us got to work in the Sabbath daytime. But right here it says the Sabbath, on the 10th day, that is a Sabbath to you. You should do no work, right? Jump down to verse 32.
Verse 32. And it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day.
It says, it shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your soul in the 9th day of the month at
even.
Read on.
From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
Is it an S after that Sabbath? I'm asking you, Masharathyah.
No.
Is that plural or singular?
Celebrate your Sabbath.
So that's singular, right?
Yes.
Okay. That's only talking about that one high holy day. From the evening of the 9th at evening time, which is still the 9th at evening, it says, afflict your soul. What? It's saying start celebrating that then. So when you wake up in the morning, you're going to be hungry. You're going to wake up afflicted. It ain't going to be no work. It ain't going to be no food. You ain't ate nothing since the sun started going down the night before. So when you wake up that morning, you're going to be already afflicted. And you're going to go through that whole day afflicted. And you're going to sacrifice. But the actual Day of Atonement is on the 10th. It says start fasting, celebrate that Sabbath, meaning fasting on the 9th. It wasn't talking about start your Sabbath as far as no work on the 9th, because we didn't do no work anyway when that evening came. Wasn't no work right there. What it was telling you was celebrate that Sabbath, start fasting and afflicting your soul that night. So when you go through that whole night, all this right here, you ain't tasted nothing. All your food done digested probably about right up in here, and your body's starting to get hungry again throughout the night. You wake up, ain't no breakfast. You wake up hungry, you ain't eating, you afflicted immediately. And you go all through that, afflicted. That's all it was talking about. But it said celebrate your Sabbath, not Sabbaths. Now watch this. Go to Leviticus 23:1.
Leviticus 23:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord.
The feasts, plural, the feasts with an S, the feasts of the Lord.
Which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations.
Convocations is talking about plural. It's talking about them. Read, not it.
Even these are my feasts.
These are my feasts. Plural. Now, it's going in here, it's talking about all of them. But when we get over here, it says, verse 32. Read the bottom of 32.
The bottom of 32. In the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
Your Sabbath. It didn't say Sabbaths. Like it said in verse 1 and 2, it says Sabbath. It's talking about that one. You celebrated, you started the night before. So when you wake up, you're already afflicted. You're hungry. And when you wake up thinking about a biscuit sandwich, an unleavened bread cake, you ain't eating nothing. You can't have nothing to eat. Ain't none of that breakfast, the first meal of the day, none of that. You hungry. You wake up afflicted. When you wake up, want to get you a glass of water, first thing you want to do is get you a glass of water because you parched. None of that. You wake up already afflicted. That's why it said from even to even do you celebrate that Sabbath. It wasn't talking about every Sabbath. So you can't use that. Because everywhere else in the Bible you read where it says we start in the morning. Then you go right there and be like, see, that's every one of them. Well, why wasn't it plural instead of singular? We know that he used the plural meaning, the plural definition of it in verse 1 and 2. Why didn't he use it there? To let us know Sabbaths, meaning all of them. That would have been easy to understand because it wasn't all of them. We just been taught that. Don't let man deceive you. Read the Bible. Man, I'm telling you, read the Bible. Drop that. I ain't even got to go in more on it. Matter of fact, let's go to chapter 16, just to show you.
Yeah, you got to have that one.
10, huh?
Yeah, we need that one.
Yeah, chapter 16, verse 29.
Leviticus chapter 16, verse 29. And this shall be a statute forever unto you, that in the 7th month, on the 10th day of the month, ye shall afflict your souls and do no work at all, whether it be one of your own country or a stranger that sojourneth among you. For on that day shall the priest make an atonement for you to cleanse you, that ye may be clean from all your sins before the Lord. It shall be a Sabbath of rest unto you, and ye shall afflict your souls by a statute forever.
And as you read on, notice it don't say nothing about the 9th day right there. The 9th day, when it's talking about in Leviticus, the 9th day at evening, it's just telling you to start fasting from there. It ain't had nothing to do with work. That when it says celebrate your Sabbath, that the evening before, it's just so you can start fasting right there. It had nothing to do with working, because it wasn't like it was in Babylon and like you can't go on your 3rd shift. It had nothing to do with that. It was talking about afflict your soul that evening before. But right here, it just tells you the 10th day. Why? Because the Day of Atonement is actually the 10th day. That's when the Day of Atonement is. The 9th day, God's just saying, don't eat nothing. Just how do you celebrate this Day of Atonement on the 10th day? The day before, don't eat nothing. Start afflicting your soul back then. I want you hungry when you wake up. You're going to be hungry. You're going to be thirsty. You're going to be craving. You ain't going to be able to do nothing but sacrifice and make atonement for your sins. Read on, verse 32. This is what's supposed to be going on the 10th day. This
Verse 30.
The 9th day. This is going on the 10th day. Read.
Verse 32. And the priest whom he shall anoint and whom he shall consecrate to minister in the priest's office in the Father's stead shall make the atonement, and shall put on the linen cloths, even the holy garments. And he shall make an atonement for the holy sanctuary, and he shall make an atonement for the tabernacle of the congregation, and for the altar. And he shall make an atonement for the priest, and for all the people of the congregation.
All this is going on in the 10th day, while you starving. When you woke up in the morning hungry as hell with nothing in your belly, mouth dry, and all night slobbering and snoring. You wake up and you starving. You're afflicted from the time you get out of bed. Read.
Verse 34. And this shall be an everlasting statute unto you, to make an atonement for the children of Israel for all their sins once a year. And he did as the Lord commanded Moses.
You see that? And when in the morning of the 10th, that's when they started sacrificing. Because that's when we did all the sacrificing. Go to Ezekiel 46 and verse 3. That's when we started our sacrifices. We read it several places already. We sacrificed in the morning. So that night before, you fasted. You stopped eating at evening. At the going down of the sun, you stop eating. Drink all your drink. Eat all your food. And when evening comes, when the sun starts dropping, you stop. All that stuff going to digest within about 8 hours. And then during the middle of the night, you're going to be hungry again. You're going to wake up thirsty. When you get up to go pee, you ain't going to be able to have no glass of water real quick because you parched. When you wake up in the morning, ain't going to be no sandwiches or nothing. You're going to be fasting from the day before. That's why I said start your Sabbath from evening to evening. Didn't have nothing to do with working. It was just saying start fasting from evening to evening on this one. And it's going to go all the way through that evening. And you're going to fast all the way up until the next evening. And then you can start eating right there. But that's still going into the Sabbath. I mean, it's still going into you ain't working on the 10th day because at nighttime you ain't work anyway. At nighttime, wasn't no buying and selling going on anyway. So then on the 10th day for us, at nighttime, we be like, it's over. Let's go out to Applebee's. What we going to do after the Day of Atonement? We're going to go to Applebee's and let's go to the steak restaurant. Man, you ain't supposed to be doing that. Wait until the morning and then go do that. Honor the Lord and keep the whole day. You want to rehearse the right. We're talking about we rehearsing the righteous acts. Well, the righteous acts of our forefathers was at nighttime. We wasn't doing all that stuff. So when these Sabbath nights come, we wasn't doing all that stuff. Read that in Exodus.
Ezekiel,
46.
and 3.
Please.
Gotcha. Ezekiel 46 and 3. Likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before the Lord in the Sabbaths and in the new moons.
So on the Sabbaths and on the new moons, we worship before the Lord. Read.
Verse 4. And the burnt offering that the prince shall offer unto the Lord in the Sabbath day shall be 6 lambs without blemish, and a ram without blemish. And the meat offering shall be an ephah for a ram, and the meat offering for the lambs as he shall be able to give, and an hin of oil to an ephah.
Right.
And in the day of
in that day, watch this. In the day, so it's talking about a specific day, read.
And in the day of the new moon, it shall be a young bullock without blemish, and 6 lambs and a ram. they shall be without blemish.
All right, now watch this. Jump over to verse 13. Let's see when it started. When we're supposed to start, because it said we're supposed to offer 2, and then in that day we're supposed to have the 2 offerings going up. Now watch this. Verse 13.
Verse 13. Thou shalt daily prepare.
Daily prepare
a burnt offering unto the Lord of a lamb of the first year without blemish.
Remember, we just read that, of the first year without blemish. Daily you shall do it. Read on.
Thou shalt prepare it every morning.
Every morning is when it started. Read.
And thou shalt prepare a meat offering for it every morning.
Every morning is when it started. You're supposed to do it every day. 1 in the morning, 1 in the evening. When do you start? Every morning is when it started.
Hey,
like the day started in the morning.
Hey, Judah, if the day starts in the evening, why the hell are all of us asleep at that time? Why the hell we all sleep if that's the beginning of the day?
The Most High starts the day when the animals do their stuff. That's when I
you in the bed. He started the day in the evening and you're behind sleep.
Right. But it said right here, every morning. Jump over to verse 15.
Verse 15. Thus shall they prepare the lamb and the meat offering and the oil every morning for a continual burnt offering.
You see that? So, brothers and sisters, this is just day 1 of this class that we're bringing out, the understanding on when we're supposed to start not only our day, but our feast days, except for the Day of Atonement, and our Sabbath, every one of them, and our new moons, every one of them. They start in the morning. In the morning. The first day of the week, when you read Matthew 28:1, started in the morning when the sun was coming up. Our forefathers understood this. Our foremothers understood this. We've been taught wrong. Now, either you're going to listen to what man got to say and listen to all that evil that they spewing out about other people that do it like this. Y'all doing it correctly when y'all do it from morning to morning. To hell with what man got to say. Obey God rather than man. You brothers and sisters that's on that, my leadership said they're going against my leadership. Them brothers is going off. Y'all the devil. And y'all better repent before Christ come back and find you worshiping man, find you in that idolatry that you in. Y'all better repent. I love you, brothers and sisters, and I pray that y'all got something out of this class. Unless, Masharathyah, you got anything else to add, we're going to end it.
Yeah. Let me get a couple of scriptures. Let's go to Judges 5 and 11.
Don't get too many for tomorrow we got.
Yeah, no, I'm not going over the class I put together.
All right, all praise.
Judges, what we was talking about earlier.
Okay, Judges chapter 5 and verse 11. They that are delivered from the noise of archers in the places of drawing water.
So it's going into us being in servitude right now, in the place of us drawing water. Go ahead.
There shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord.
Hold on. The righteous acts of who?
Of the Lord.
The righteous acts of man.
Of the Lord.
Judah.
Of the Lord.
Masharathyah.
Of the Lord.
Go ahead.
I said of the Lord.
So the scripture tells you to rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord. Of the Lord. Go to Deuteronomy 6 and 25. Don't do the righteous acts of myself. Don't think that, this man or this sister is righteous and they keep it one way, but the scripture says do it this way. You do what the Bible says. The righteous acts of the Lord. Because like Christ said, there's no one good but one, and that is God. So if you want to do something right, that's who we're supposed to follow. Christ said, I came to do the will of my Father. That's who we're supposed to be mimicking ourselves after. You don't do it because I said it or because Judah said it. Like he said, take notes, go through it, and prove it wrong. If you got questions, call somebody, shoot a message. Me and this brother will be more than happy to go through whatever you don't understand or however you see it. But it's all over the Bible. You can't deny it. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Go to Deuteronomy 6 and 25. And even with Judah, when we was going through this, and I misunderstood a certain part of it. He was like, "No, Mosh, the scripture says we have to do it this way." And I was like, "That's what it say. The scriptures say what they say. It don't matter what somebody else says. What does the Bible say?"
Right. Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 25. And it shall be all righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he commanded us.
You see that? So the righteous acts of the Lord is his commandments that he commanded us, not what man commanded you to do. Not what somebody else commanded you to do. What makes you righteous, what makes you right, is doing what the Lord tells you to do. And you better fear the Lord than rather fearing man. Because if you do that, you in trouble. You in trouble.
Big
You are
trouble.
trouble. Go to Galatians.
I got another scripture too I want to pull.
Understood. Hold on. Let me get there myself. Go to Galatians chapter 1 and read verse 10.
The book of Galatians, chapter 1 and verse 10. For do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? For if I yet please men, I should not be the servant of Christ.
So it says, for do I now persuade men or God? So who do you need to convince? You need to convince the Most High God that you love him and you want to keep his commandments. You ain't trying to persuade men to gain favor to them. To hell with me, and if I go contrary to what the Most High tell you. He's the one that you got to prove all things to. You have nothing to prove to me. Prove that you love the Lord and that you want to keep his commandments and that you rehearsing the righteous acts for him. Because guess what? You're going to have to do them again. And you ain't going to be able to go to Christ and the Most High and be like, well, such and such said. And I understand that a lot of people, we get this phone call a lot too. I see it in the scriptures, but they do it this way. So I'm just going to continue to do it this way, even though I know that it's not supposed to be done that way. That is evil as hell. That's wrong. That's off.
You know what that's called? You know what that's called? Watch this. That's Jeremiah 2 right there. Watch this. I'm going to read it. Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 33. Why trimmest thou thy way to seek love? Therefore hast thou also taught the wicked ones thy ways. That's what you're doing. You trimming your ways to stay in the group. Stay in the, in the assembly of, if you see stuff wrong, you're supposed to stand up against that. And help your brother, help your sister to get right. Y'all stick around with it. And I'm so tired of those messages, brothers and sisters, sneaking around to watch class and sneaking around to call me and then say, I don't agree with what they doing, but you know what I'm saying? Hey, I love y'all too. But you're going to have to come to a point where you're going to stand for what's right or you're going to stand for what's wrong. But you're going to stand on one side, just like Christ said. You ain't dealing with no lukewarm. If it's wrong, you speak out against what's wrong. If it's right, you stand for what's right. But don't be secretly doing, you know what I'm saying? You fooling yourself. You fooling yourself.
Right. So in Galatians 1 and 10, it says, for do I now persuade men or God? Or do I seek to please men? And that's what people do, seek to please men. Well, I know it's supposed to be done this way, but everybody else is doing it this way. And I don't want nobody mad at me or saying nothing to me, or I want to remain here and I just want to keep the peace. You're seeking to please men. So watch the next part of it. It says, for if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. So you wasting your time. Long story short, you wasting your time.
Let's go back to Genesis real quick, because the sister put up the only thing that is a little foggy is why Genesis 1 and 5 said evening first, but the rest of the scriptures. All right, let's go to it. You might not have been on class when we went over it earlier, but let's go to it. There's a mistranslation. Words were altered just a little bit to try to make it easier for us to read. I'm going to read in the beginning of the Bible. This is in the beginning of all y'all's King James Bible. In the beginning, and that little summary right there that tells you about different little things right up in here, it'll tell you. They switched up some words to try to make it easier for you to understand. And doing that, some of the words kind of made it a little tricky in understanding or whatever. It might have been easy in English, but it took away some of the power of it that came from the Hebrew. And watch this. It says the Bible contains text. This Bible contains the text of the Authorized King James Version, originally published in 1611. One characteristic of this version is its use of italics, which indicate words supplied by the translator to help clarify the meaning and better convert the original language to English. Now watch this. This is the Bible. It's called the Scriptures, but it's the Bible. It's got the Old and the New Testament in it, same exact thing, but it's less translated. It uses words like Elohim. You understand? It uses words like that when it talks about when it goes into Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the names that it uses, you see it, are the Hebrew names, or the so-called Hebrew names. It's less translated. Now watch what it says in Genesis 1 and 5 here. It says, and Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there came to be evening, and there came to be morning, day one. Meaning over a process of time, there came to be evening, and then over a process of through the night, there came to be morning, day one. But what comes after the morning? What comes after the morning? The daytime. And then there came to be evening, and then there came to be morning again, day two. And then the work started, and there came to be evening, and then there came to be morning, day three. That's all. But when we read it in this version, in the King James Authorized Version, it says, "And the evening and the morning was the first day." Well, okay, just understanding it from there. After the morning, what is it? What happened to the noon? That was when the work was being done in the daytime. There came to be evening, then there came to be morning, then the work day started again, and then there came to be evening, then there came to be morning. That's all it was talking about. So the only confusion, there wasn't no confusion back then. You know it wasn't no confusion back then because as we read through the scriptures, our forefathers was keeping it in the morning. It's only confusion on us because we don't understand how it was translated and where it was translated from. But that wasn't talking about evening to evening, sister. It wasn't talking about evening to evening. I pray you understand.
Hold on, let me say something real quick, Judah, and I'll go into the times tomorrow. But again, think of it as a work day. When you wake up in the morning, you go to work. That begins the day. You wake up, set your alarm, brush your teeth, you go to your job, you work, and then you get off in the evening. And once you get off in the evening, guess like you go home, you rest, and then you get up in the morning and you do the same thing again. So watch this. Go to Genesis chapter 1 and read start at verse 29.
The book of Genesis, chapter 1 and verse 29.
So again, think about it, just like us, as a regular work day. That's what the Most High did. Go ahead.
And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God said, and God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day.
So remember, he had worked on that sixth day. He woke in the morning, he went to work, and he made all these creations on that sixth day. And then at the end of that sixth day, he said everything was good. And the evening and the morning was the first day, because at the evening, now he rested. And then in the morning, you go back to work again. But let's see what he did. Start at chapter 2, verse 1.
Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them.
So he did everything. So on the sixth day, after he worked in the evening and the morning was the first day, on the seventh day, everything was finished. Go ahead.
And thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested the seventh day from all his work which he had made.
So now on the seventh day, when you would typically get up and go to work, this time there was no work to be done. So it would be just like us. We go to work 6 days and we work through the day until the evening. This time when you wake up in the morning, oh shoot, I ain't gotta go to work. Let me hit the snooze button. Let me turn my alarm clock off, because I don't have to do anything this day in the morning when I typically would wake up to begin my day. So hopefully that makes sense to you.
Right. And that was an ordinance for us forever. Anyway, how we did our work. Get that again in Psalms 104. Excuse me, Psalms 104, 104 and 20. Just to recap a little bit.
Psalms 104 and 20. Thou makest darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth.
At nighttime, the beasts of the forest creep around. Read.
The young lions roar after their prey and seek their meat from God.
And the animals of prey, the carnivores, they go after and roar after they prey. They go and do their killing at night. Read.
The sun ariseth, they gather themselves together and lay them down in their dens.
And when the sun comes up, those animals go and lay themselves in their dens. Notice it right here. He's talking about in the darkness. He didn't say, and man starts his day. and the day of man starts and whatnot. We sleep. We in the house. Animals are out doing their thing in the dark. Read.
Verse 23, man goeth forth unto his work and to his labor until the evening.
When? In the morning, when the sun, it says verse 22 and 23 together.
The sun ariseth, they gather themselves together and lay them down in their dens. Man goeth forth unto his work and to do his labor until the evening.
Just like the Most High. He go forth and do his work in the morning into the evening. In the evening, in the morning, all this was the first day. It came to be right here, he did his work. It came to be evening. It came to be morning. And then he went back to work again, just like us. Just like it says we do. We do all things patterned after the Most High's order. So I pray that y'all understand. If y'all don't, tune in tomorrow, because we're going to keep on smacking this thing until y'all wake up and we start serving the Lord correctly. That's why I said remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Because we don't forget how to do it. Why? I'm going to show you why. Give me Daniel 7. Just like with everything else. Because we done followed our enemies and we mimicking what they do.
Daniel chapter 7.
Following other men and just trusting that they just feeding us the bread of God. You better get in it for yourself.
Daniel 7:25.
Read.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High.
It's talking about the beast, this last kingdom. It's going to speak great words against the Most High. Read.
And shall wear out the saints of the Most High.
And they wore us out in our slavery. They wearing us out right now, just feeding us all kind of lies. Read.
And think to change times and laws.
You see that? And they changed the times that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath, the time we're supposed to keep the new moon, the time we're supposed to keep the high holy days. They changed all that stuff. They changed the laws. They changed all that stuff on us. It's high time that we come back to the understanding of how we serve God. Read on.
And they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time.
So it's high time that we wake up. It's high time that we wake up and start serving the Lord correctly. So we can speed up his coming, if it's possible. So with that, Marsh, you got anything else?
Nah, just tomorrow. Stay tuned. We got more.
Tomorrow's class, we're going to still be going over it tomorrow if the Lord wake us up. And Wednesday, if the Lord continue to wake us up. I pray all y'all got edified. I pray y'all go back and look at the class and look at the scriptures and write them down and actually study, get in it. It's your salvation that's at stake. Don't let no man tell you, no, they're the devil, so don't listen to them. Don't listen to us. Listen to the Bible. Just get in there and get in it. The Lord's will, we'll see y'all tomorrow. Share the class. You need to start, if y'all believe and y'all see this, share the class with your brothers and sisters that are doing it wrong. Don't let them just do it wrong. And don't be scared of nobody. If they kick you out of your congregation because you're sharing this class, then good. You should have been that. You should have never been in that place in the first place. Because they're trying to lord over you. They don't want you to know. Shalom, y'all.